Moving now to the U.S. West, stock index futures pointed to a higher open on Friday as investors geared up for the final cluster of economic data and corporate earnings for the week. Another batch of economic data is set to be released. Housing starts and building permits are due out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then the Kansas City Fed manufacturing survey is set to be published at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. In domestic news, House Republicans passed a bill to cut taxes on businesses and individuals on Thursday, with a tax reform plan receiving 227 votes in favor, beating the 205 votes that voted against. Well, my colleague in New York, Jill Maladrino, will be joining us later on the show to give us details on that tax bill. And back here in the meantime, as Nigeria's central bank prepares to hold its last monetary policy meeting for the year next week, former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Professor Kingsley Moghalu, says Nigeria must create a productive economy for the monetary policy to have the desired impact. According to Professor Moghalu, who was our guest on our Business Morning program today, monetary policy is reactive to fiscal policy, and the value of a country's foreign exchange is determined by the productivity of its economy.
The first thing people need to understand about monetary policy is that it is in fact reactive to fiscal policy and to other variables in the macroeconomic environment. That's number one. So, for example, why are interest rates in Nigeria today at 18–20%, in terms of average borrowing? It's precisely because of a number of things. One, there is high inflation. Inflation is the worst tax on the average common man. If there is inflation, what is the responsibility of a central bank? It is primarily to fight inflation so that there can be economic stability. It's a very unpopular thing to make interest rates high, but it is necessary in order to reduce the money supply. And when you reduce the money supply and inflation goes down, a better economic environment is created. Now, when fiscal policy, which is government's own responsibility in terms of revenues that the government earns and how the government manages them, and it's about taxation. Although in Nigeria, fiscal policy is not about taxation, or has not been. Fiscal policy has been about sharing oil rents, FAC, allocation committees. That tells you that it's a country that is a bit dysfunctional. In normal countries, fiscal revenue is about how do you generate income for the government based on a productive economy. Now, if the government is spending a lot of money on recurrent expenditure, which is what is happening in Nigeria, where 70 to 90% of our budgets are spent paying salaries and just recurrent, those things drive inflation. These are the things that make it essential for the central bank to maintain a tight monetary supply. So this is what is happening. Now, where should we be going in the future? The problem we need to solve in terms of monetary policy in Nigeria is that we need to, first of all, create a productive economy, because the value of, and this links into forex policy, the value of a country's exchange rate is determined by how productive the economy is.
Critically speaking, therefore, you say there's a limit to what monetary policy can achieve if there is no productive base from a fiscal point of view.
Yes. And this is what most people need. And this is a function of political leadership. So if you do not have a political leadership that recognizes this, you're not creating a productive economy. You're driving an inflation-prone economy by massive recurrent expenditures. And then you turn around and say, Central Bank, why isn't our monetary policy rate lower than it is? I think you're showing a certain fundamental lack of understanding, in my view.
So, you just touched on foreign exchange, which is at the heart of it all. You devoted a section of your presentation on Wednesday, the Institute of International Affairs, to what you call a foreign exchange conundrum.
Yes.
Explain this.
We have a massive foreign exchange conundrum in Nigeria. We know that the value of the naira is determined by mainly one commodity, and that is not what should be in a normal economy, and that is the price of a natural resource.
Well, that was Kingsley Moghalu, the former Deputy Central Bank Governor, speaking there on the monetary policy. After the break, Kenya Airways posts pre-tax loss. Do stay with us.